start and we'll just have a conversation.
Okay.
The Westport Library and the Crick Center for the Arts proudly present Oh Brother, Not Another Podcast, now on iTunes, by the way, with me, Miggs Burroughs.
And I'm Trace Burroughs. Today we're excited to have Tony Award-winning Broadway singer and actress Joanna Gleason, who's performed in many Broadway musicals, including Into the Woods, The Real Thing, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, and many others. She's also been in dozens of television shows and feature films. We share an unusual connection because her father, game show host Monty Hall, Let's Make a Deal, Strike It Rich, and 21, and Video Village, which I was a contestant on when I was 10 years old, and a whole lot of stuff on. So
you were on Video Village?
Yes, yeah. I was on Video Village. I was the biggest winner they had. So I was there, but when Jack Nars went over to Monty, so I was there. Jack Nars was the host towards, I don't know how many shows I was on, and then Monty was the host.
And I was the jealous big brother who had to watch my brother on TV winning truckloads of prizes that used to pull up in our driveway. You know.
Did you get to do the penny pile? That was my favorite thing.
Got to do the penny pile.
Yeah.
My mother came up and turned the big dice thing, you know.
That's so cool. So then you were on Kiddio Village.
You know, I don't remember. I saw it said Junior Video Village. I don't remember the word Junior being in that, but if that's what it was.
I think it was Kiddio Village. I don't know that maybe he did do Strike It Rich. I know that he took over for Jack Barry during the quiz show Scandal when Barry had to absent himself while things were being investigated, and Dad took over for a while.
When I auditioned to go on Video Village, I was approached half a dozen times by adults saying, "Did you talk to anyone in the hall? Did anyone talk to you?" And they're so paranoid that it's cheating. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
You ever, it said in one of your write-ups that you had appeared on one of your dad's shows. Did you ever go on Video Village?
No, not true. You have to be careful what you grab off the
Yeah, no, I know. That's what I'm asking.
I wasn't born in Winnipeg. I was born in Toronto. My folks were born in Winnipeg. And I never was on my dad's show, to my knowledge, unless I was drugged and taken there. Never on my dad's show. Nope. You know, he kept show business really out of the family life. So it's just he went to work and he came home. That's pretty much how we knew it.
And he did he act? Was he a theatrical performer?
His heart was in the theater. He did musical theater for a couple of summers up at the Sacramento Music Theater. He did High Button Shoes, and he did another one, maybe Take Me Along. I can't remember, but he had a beautiful voice, a kind of high baritone voice, and he loved it. But no, he was not an actor. He was a broadcaster who then created the show that gave him quite an international platform to do his charity work. That's the greatest thing that came out of that for him.
I just watched some of your the role you did on Boogie Nights, and
Scary Mommy.
I forgot how intense that was.
Oh my!
Yeah. I know it's not. It's nothing, that role. It was nothing that people had ever seen me do. It was certainly, when you come out of the theater, or especially the musical theater, no one really jumps to, let's play a vicious
mother.
Psycho mom.
It was so much fun.
Was it fun? I always wonder. It's fun. I was going to comment too that, I mean, I've seen a lot of movies and not so many plays, but I've never seen a range, any performer that go from like Into the Woods, this pristine, beautiful command of your vocal command and your acting and singing, and then to go to that. I've never seen a range like that. And
I thank you so much. And I rare it is that an actor gets to do that, because it's very easy to keep casting people, based on their sort of factory settings. And Paul Thomas Anderson saw something in me in the audition and went for it. And I must say, I owe him a debt of gratitude, because it was a chance to do something publicly, show something else that I would never have been given a chance to do.
Did they have to do a lot of takes for something like that?
No, frankly, I'll tell you, he was like 26 at the time that we made the movie. And it was Mark Wahlberg played my son, sweetest fellow. We were prepared. We rehearsed maybe one time through. And I think if he did 3 takes, that was it. And that was a scene that really just, it was tearing posters off the wall, and it was,
Yeah.
flaying layers of skin off of each other, and him throwing me against the wall. And we did 3 takes, and I went home. I went home shaking.
So what's fun about that?
It's intense. You get to work at a pitch that you're not used to working at. And it was thrilling. And Mark was a sweetheart and a doll, making sure nobody got hurt. And, but that was 26-year-old Paul Thomas Anderson.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I actually studied theater at Carnegie. No one was in Carnegie Institute of Technology. So I got a degree in the drama department, but I realized very quickly I wasn't going to be an actor. But I did take my first acting classes, and the teacher, the very first class, I think he said acting, he summed it all up, and he said acting is acting authentically in a make-believe situation. But
yeah.
So
trying to be honest yes, exactly.
So relative to this, your performance in Boogie Nights, how do you, unless that's really you under the skin, how do you act authentically? Where's that authenticity come from?
They're all me, and in good and in creative people, we get the chance to use all those things that are in you. I've seen myself in the last few months and years, a stream of stuff coming out of my mouth, in a way that you would not really expect from my public persona. And I thought, they're all me. It's just which ones are called upon to portray the task at hand, to do the character as written.
So of all your different musical Broadway performances, what is your most favorite experience with all that?
Well, obviously, Into the Woods was extraordinary. It brought me so much. It brought me friends for life, Chip Zien particularly. It was a chance to work with Steve Sondheim and James Lapine. That's the pantheon, right there. And in a role that brought me a lot of shiny stuff and notoriety. And because PBS filmed it, and it has lived over the generations. So many more people, kids particularly, have had a chance to see it and relate to it. I did a play by Stephen Karam, who wrote The Humans, and it was called Sons of the Prophet. That was an extraordinary play for me to do. I had also went into The Real Thing as a replacement that Mike Nichols directed. I did 3 projects with Mike. That was pretty extraordinary. I've had, I've done everything on my bucket list, my theater bucket list, straight play, or musical, all that kind of. I would be surprised if there's a play particularly that would draw me back when theater opens again, but there might be. Mm-hmm. As for a musical, I wrote a show. I did a show that I toured with my 3 musicians and my 4 musicians and 3 singers. It was autobiographical. It was very funny, very moving, and I did it at the Quick Center. I did it in November.
Oh, Out of the Eclipse, right?
Exactly. And to me, that was the kind of musical work I like doing on stage, where I guide the narrative and I pick the music. If you do a musical 8 times a week, it's honest to God, at the end of the week, it's like you've been in a car accident every week. So I think I'm not for that anymore, but there may be a play in the future, short, limited run.
Have you ever, in any performance anywhere, forgotten lyrics to a song?
Oh my God, yes.
What do you do in a case like that?
Oh my God, the nonsense syllables that come out, and the
like Reverend, what's the name, Erwin Corey or something?
Professor Erwin Corey.
Professor Erwin Corey, yeah.
And you just do it long enough so that the audience doesn't get that quizzical, look. I've forgotten lyrics. People have forgotten lines. I once jumped a page of dialogue in a script only to have my scene partner's eyes get so we've had to work our way back. It happens to everybody.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to talk about a little bit Out of the Eclipse? It was last year at the Quick Center, and I saw a little, again, could be apocryphal, but it was you in the interview, so I think it came out of your mouth. But it was about a dark time in your life, and you said coincidentally or not, it just happened to bookend a real eclipse, right?
Yes, indeed. It was 2017, and there was this very rare solar eclipse in August, where everything went dark. Depending where you were standing in the world, it went dark. And I started to think about that, and I realized that in June of that year, and in September of that year, I lost my mom and my dad. So
Mm.
it was right in the middle of when everything went dark for me in a very
Mhm.
short time. And using that kind of as my imagery, I constructed a show that was about their lives, who they were, what you discover about your parents when they're gone, and you can look back. It was a very funny show. It was also very moving, and then it got a little more raw because it's about us looking into the abyss and what's next. However, it ends, sort of upbeat and with I will say spiritual in the way that I put my faith in a lot of things in a lot of places, but I do very much put my faith in the power of other people to get you through. And that's sort of what it was about. And then I had the great good fortune of taking the show with my whole company to Los Angeles in February, where we played for 2 nights. And there were all my friends from elementary school through high school and college, and my parents' remaining friends who came to see the show. So it was and the nurse who took care of my folks at the end.
That's nice.
Yeah, it was. And then we got out of LA just when the news of this virus was hitting, and we got home and hunkered down. I thought I got in and out. I also made a short film that I wrote and directed, which was about my parents, a very short film. But we got that done in December, and I think, wow, there is no way to do either of those things now, and won't be for a long time. And would they even be the relevant stories to tell,
Or there'll all be stories about this, of us people hunkered down.
Yes, or set against the backdrop of this, or the world post this, or the adjustment to the world during this. So I feel blessed that I got to tell those stories.
Now, do you and your husband Chris live in Westport or?
No, we live in Fairfield. Yeah.
Fairfield. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. My only connection, I mean, Trace has a much more meaningful one, was I sat in front of your husband at the Playhouse gala last year when you hosted the Playhouse fundraiser.
The Christmas one?
Yeah.
The Christmas one.
Christmas one, yeah.
We love the Playhouse.
Yeah.
We love the Playhouse.
That's terrific. Trace and I both apprenticed there in our youth.
Well, isn't it it's a magical place?
Yeah.
It's just magical.
So what's on your bucket list now that you haven't done that you'd like to do?
I would like to direct a feature. I've written a feature that people like, and I think it's a feature that will have a story that will be part of all the stories that can be told in the new world. I hate to say it, but in the reshaped world. So much is happening now that my bucket list includes things that are more community and world oriented than my own personal bucket list. We have these
change once this is what's going to happen? Do you have any ideas on that?
The
virus calms down, we're going to all get vaccinated 9-10 months from now, or
yeah, I do believe that will happen. I do believe we still have to be careful and care about each other. I do believe we're also, we've cracked open so much that has been simmering beneath the surface that needs to be addressed. And we need to realize that when we tear each other apart, we're doing the work of the countries that hate us. We're actually fulfilling the agenda of the people who've always wanted this country to fail. And so it's up to us to see that light and to realize we can make changes, we can adjust, we can instill a sense of a commonality of expression and of desire for this country. And it's going to start at the bottom sometimes if it won't start at the top, but we're going to have to just see that it's inclusive. It has to be an inclusive.
Yeah.
I feel that, I don't know, education is sort of to have to teach tolerance starting from K-12. Otherwise.
Well, why aren't they being taught it at home?
Yeah.
That's the thing. If you started now, 25 years when the kids become parents, because a lot of this stuff passed on, bigotries, from parent to children.
Yeah.
And you're never going to stop racism, but I think you can decrease it somewhat with education.
You can, and you can call it out. And if people would start to hold up the mirror and just see, do I really need, is this really this knee-jerk reaction, this thing that's been ingrained in me through my family and generations of my culture? What do I get from this anymore?
Yeah.
If I'm not satisfied in my life, if I'm not getting what I want, if I want to point at somebody and blame them for what's holding me back, where does it get me? Somebody has said often, many people have said, it's like drinking poison and hoping the other guy dies. That's what we've been watching a culture that's been poisoning itself.
Yeah, the other similar metaphor I heard was setting your own hair on fire and hoping the other person chokes on the smoke.
Well, that's a long way to go, but yes.
Yeah, it's a long. So there was a mention of this feature you just mentioned. Is that the grotto that I've heard about?
How'd you know about that?
I have people. We have people. We have people that know people.
You have people that know people. That's ominous.
But that's it. The grotto. It's about a healing. Isn't there a
It is
grotto
about
in
healing.
Lourdes?
You know, I was fascinated as a kid with the movie The Song of Bernadette, starring Jennifer Jones, and she had a little lateral lisp like that, and she was very cute. She was the peasant girl who saw a vision of the Virgin Mary. This is in France. And she was told to dig in a garbage dump. And she did, and everybody thought she was crazy. And soon enough, she digs, and water, where there never was water appears. People drink the water and they're healed, and they're throwing away their crutches. And I don't know, I was 9. I was maybe 9 or 10. And this movie just stayed with me because it was about faith. You know, it was about faith, but it was also... I don't know what it was at 9 or 10 that drew me to this, but I created a grotto after the AIDS crisis made itself known, and I was losing friends, and we were all losing friends. And then decades later, I was thinking about creating something in the desert. I spent a lot of time in Palm Springs because my grandparents had a little house that my dad bought for them there. They'd come down from Canada where it was freezing, and they'd come stay. And then he brought all the relatives down. How the desert was magic for me. So one day I was walking in the desert, literally just walking in the desert, and I thought, what if there were a nightclub, a former gay nightclub called The Grotto, where people went to be healed just by hanging out together and getting through this crisis together. But it hasn't been touched in 20 years, and the restaurant's so-so, and no customers come anymore. And the fountain by the plastic statue of the Virgin Mary with all the posters from the movie, the fountain doesn't work, there's no water. And it took off from there, about a woman who inherits this place when her fiance dies. And unbeknownst to her, she had no idea it existed. So I wrote this feature, and people have responded in an extraordinary way. And now is not the time to press people to jump on board to make a movie this year. We have other things we have to get through this year, other priorities. But I'm going to start to lay the groundwork for it because of all this interest, and maybe next year, in a perfect world, in a vaccinated world, we'll go make a movie in the desert.
It seems, very relevant. It's about healing and kind of.
There's little miracles in it too. It's a little bit of subtle magical realism in it, and again, it's about faith in other people.
So, what does the theatrical community? Do you teach? Do you use Zoom for teaching? Are you a Zoom? Are you a Zoombie or whatever?
I am a Zoombie. I've been teaching for 30 years in colleges and high schools and private classes, and I have been doing some Zoom teaching, which is wonderful for the kids. They're feeling so isolated, and many of them aren't sure whether they're going to go to college, whether the college will be open, and many are graduating college and don't know, how do I get a foothold? And patience will be the key, and just keeping those flames, the fires burning, the creative fires burning.
Yeah, it was. I think Kelly O'Hara did a thing for the Playhouse where she had auditions and had teenagers. It was audition through Zoom, right?
Yeah,
it was very moving.
I've been doing things very similar to that. Yeah, exactly.
Have you ever been in a situation, any musicals or film, like with some really sort of unpredictable circumstance happens? I don't know what I'm fishing for, but it's just an unusual experience on the set, on stage, where there's like trouble, but it works out.
What comes to my mind is I was doing a revival of On a Clear Day You Can See Forever with Robert Goulet, and it was directed by Sir Alfred Drake, a great legend in the American musical theater. And Goulet and I were on stage, and I played Daisy Gamble, and it's the end, and the psychiatrist, Robert Goulet, is falling in love with Daisy Gamble, and it's the end, and in the violins are going, nee, 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 nee. We're saying, I love you, I'm about to leap into his arms, nee, 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 in the violins. And we hear, down in like the second row, we hear somebody say, oh God, I'm dying. And we freeze, and the violins are going, just like we're not sure what to do, and we hold, and we wonder if people are going to run down the aisle to come and get this person who's clearly in distress. And then about, I don't know, it went on for like 20 seconds, and then we hear, I'm better. Oh, okay. And I just thought that's the end. And we broke up. We just started laughing, and then they finished the show and the curtain came down.
Oh,
That was the most unusual experience.
yeah.
Now, did you have, we interviewed, I don't know, if you know, Scott Bryce is a local actor, and he was in a movie. He was talking about his early, he was young, but he found himself at a table read with Michelle Pfeiffer on his left, and I forget, Redford on his right or something. And somebody came in the room and thought he was, he shouldn't be there. I said, well, you can leave now, as if he was like the coffee boy or something. And Michelle Pfeiffer, I don't know, this stuck with me because it was just so, it was such a sensitive thing, you know, defended him and said, no, this is a fine actor. You know, he belongs here with the rest of us. Like, you know, and he said that was really like a pivotal thing that validated him. I'm just curious, are there any moments like that with other professionals that, not early in your career, you know, they kind of.
Yeah. You know, by and large, most of the actors I know in the theater and in film too, mostly are lovely, lovely people, because most of them are grateful to be doing what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I was finishing Into the Woods. I had, she said about herself, won the Tony already, and I was leaving at the end of June, and my final performance was a Sunday matinee. And at that time, Felicia Rashad was playing the witch. Bernadette had left the show after about a year, and Felicia was doing the witch, and Chip Zien was still the baker, and it was my final curtain call, leaving the show. You know, it was all that great. And as it was always in the show, the cast takes their bow, they all kind of scatter, leaving me and Chip and the witch, and in this case, Felicia, on stage. And it was always Chip bows and he leaves the stage, and then I bow and I leave the stage, and then the witch comes down center, bows and leaves the stage. So Chip bowed, thunderous applause, he leaves the stage, and I go to bow, and Felicia grabbed my wrist and said, wait. And she went down and took the second to last bow, leaving me on stage alone to take a bow. And I thought, that is class with a capital C.
Yeah,
my God, who does that? It was just the loveliest gesture, and it just made the day for me.
Yeah.
Just made the day. Yeah, I'll never forget that.
Now, how is it? Because your husband's a fine actor, Chris Sarandon, and is it, does not acting together make for a good marriage, or does acting together, or does a good marriage help acting together? You know? Yeah,
a good marriage. It's that order. We've been together almost 30 years, and we've worked together often. In fact, we met during a Broadway flop musical, which I'll remain, or you can talk about it if you want. But the good thing was that we met each other, and we also don't really bring the work home. It's not interesting to have your day and then come home and just have to have your day all over again. So he produced the short film that I made. So we were very much in it, and the crew was, you know, staying with us. So, but we didn't really talk about it. We talked about life, and we ate spaghetti, and we played with the dog, and this is what we do. I mean, your work is your work, and you go to work and you take your lunch in a brown paper bag and you eat your lunch and you come home. And that's the way to stay sane. If you have a problem at work and you need to discuss it, then that's over in about half an hour.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I've never felt the need to be so consumed with it or have to stay in character, whatever that is, you know, that it's put a dent in my able to be a fully, you know, fully present person at home.
I've like a sort of a simple production question, which might seem obvious, but so you've done a lot of sitcoms. Like a lot of times sitcoms say, you know, film in front of a live audience. So like, for instance, like I see Friends, they repeat that, and I've seen that episode where you're smoking and Jennifer Aniston doesn't know whether to smoke or not. And I've seen that a million times. I mean, when is it shot part of it in a live audience, and then they do shots that are supposed to be outside, and then they edit it all together? Is that how that works?
I would say 90% of it is done in front of a live audience. You know, it also depends on how many sets they can fit on the stage. You know, there's the usual sets, and then there are some new sets in new episodes. But we may have done one without an audience that got set in just because we had to do it in the back, you know, of the sets. So, but largely what you're seeing is done in front of a live audience.
Oh, okay.
So what kind of middle day, end of the day, especially now when there's limited opportunities, do you have, what are your extracurricular? Do you play bocce? Do you have kayaking, hiking? I mean, do you have, what are your kind of personal?
Well, let's see now. There is the goal of walking, 10,000 steps a day, which I rarely meet. We cook. We're really lovely cooks. So we've been trying some new stuff. I've been teaching. I've been writing. What else do we do? Well, we have quite a huge garden, and Chris is the farmer. So there's a lot of that going on every day. Play with the dog. Leave out treats for the UPS guy.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
That's essential. Yeah, the big thing of like power bars and that kind of stuff. I've been knitting, but now that it's getting to be 1,000 degrees, the wool doesn't feel so inviting. Binging on a few things, watching TV. But basically, and we have been out in the world more with masks and sometimes eyewear, to pick up something at the curb or to drop off something or to go to a doctor's appointment. We're feeling much less fearful about that because we have more information as to what we need to do.
Right. Yeah. Same here.
Yeah.
So we're both bachelors. Are there any good recipes for bachelors that don't really know what they're doing in a kitchen, but could put something together?
Can you buy a chicken?
Buy a chicken?
Yeah.
Buy a whole chicken.
I usually buy them already pre-cooked because I don't even like to use my oven.
You're not even trying. So.
But I don't have one of those rotisserie things. Do we have to have a rotisserie?
No, Miggs. Listen to me. You buy a whole chicken, right?
Yeah.
Kind of rinse it off, pat it dry. Take out anything that's in the innards, like, gizzards or lizards or whatever. Got a lemon? Take a lemon. You stick the lemon with a fork, so you punch some holes in the lemon. Then you salt inside the cavity, stick the lemon in, shut it with a safety pin, rub it with olive oil, and put it in the oven, and it will be the best chicken you've ever had.
You put the lemon in the cavity.
Right in the cavity, whole, but just with some holes stuck in it.
Right, yeah.
The juice comes out. Little salt in there, rub it with olive oil, put it in like a 375 oven, put it in a 400 for like 10 minutes and then 350 till it's done. That's about another 40 minutes or so, depending on the size of the chicken. When the leg wiggles, and you cut the thigh kind of where it joins the bird and the juices run yellow, it's done.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's a chicken for you.
That's a chicken.
Can't be any easier than that.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's my personal chef, Trader Joe, hasn't always done a great job.
Yes. It's time you struck out for yourself. Yes.
Yeah. Well, this has been amazing for you to give us your time.
It's a pleasure. It's nice to meet you guys.
Yeah.
I know I've met you. I'm pretty sure I've met both of you before.
Well, we're townies. I mean, we both grew up in Westport and I've been here forever, but, and of course I've been aware of you forever. And one small complaint, I should oblige us at the beginning when I was, looking up your, doing some research and found your Wikipedia page and pressed print. And my printer ran out of ink and paper because there were so many pages. I mean, look at it, endless lists.
I have to tell you, I have never looked at my Wikipedia page because I did not write my Wikipedia page. And it's probably filled with inaccuracies.
Well, this is just a list of things you've been in.
I am so old. Look at that. It's great. I mean, I've done a lot, and I'm not done yet. And where the world has hit the pause button, and there's a lot we have to clean up and a lot we have to reorganize and figure out. But brighter days.
Well, thank you.
Yes, thanks a lot for being on the show.
Sentiment to end on. Thanks very much, Joanna.
A pleasure.